You get 100% for effort.
My grandfather's from the Villeneuve go on.
Yes.
So Shneur Zalman is the name of my father's Moshe Ruvain and my uncle's Shneur Zalman.
Wow.
And they're related
So
somewhere down the line.
Somewhere down the line. Good for you.
We're in that line.
Do you know? Yeah.
Yeah.
The
good news is
that we're all somehow from Abraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov.
Exactly. I was going to say the good news, we're all from the same place.
Yes. So, but it's nice when you have that. It's very special when you have that in your, that somebody's soul's looking out for you, right? In a special way.
I actually just learned it from Rabbi Yankel. I did not know.
Yeah, that the souls of your ancestors look after you.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I didn't know that. Well, yes, not only that, but all the holy, righteous tzaddikim, holy people, and women and men, they do still, they're still out there looking out for us.
Yes.
Plus, there's angels looking out for us. Plus, there's our parents looking out for us.
I have a lot of angels.
Yes. Plus, we have a special power within ourselves. Really, with the Lubavitcher Rebbe the Rebbe of our generation, put more emphasis on what we have within us. Mm-hmm. That is actually the most potent, the most strong, effective power that we have to take care of things.
That's what I'm learning.
He didn't put the emphasis on our ancestors or on our angels or on our teachers. He mentioned it actually in this book, from this week, Parshat Behaaloscha, that is something that he does mention of how we can become illuminators of our own, and not need the constant input of our teachers, our parents, our ancestors.
Wow.
Even God himself. We don't need all that to become our own illuminators. We can get that to begin with initially, and then the goal is to become on our own illuminating, and we have that power in us. Yeah, and he talks about it here, how to become that. So I'm going to try to give you a taste of this sikha here. I'm also going to be teaching it this week on another Zoom class every morning, but it's 6:30 LA time because it's a New York class. It's
in the morning or the night?
In the morning, because it's an evening.
Yeah.
Well, maybe
I won't be there. I'm sorry.
Yeah, maybe I'll record it. Anyway.
Oh, that'd be great.
So that we're going to take what I'm going to teach today in like a very, very, kind of little nugget form. We're going to go delve into the actual text of the Lubavitcher Rebbe, how he said it in 1991, like word for word. We're going to go through each word and maybe even a bunch of footnotes and stuff. So it's a more in-depth class, and it's, kudos to those women who actually do it. And they want it. They want, the inside. It's not my class. It's somebody else's class that I'm just taking over for while she's traveling. So anyway, if you're interested, I can send you the recording. So let's look inside.
So if you're reading your book, where would I find it in here?
Okay, so that's from the Wednesday, but the book that you have, the Tanya, that's from the Wednesday class.
Oh, what's today's book?
Sundays, it's this book, it's in Hebrew. It's the Rebbe's talk from 5751, 5752. When he spoke the last 2 years of his speaking in this world, that the last things he left with us, the teachings that he left with us, that he actually edited and put footnotes, and they're extremely, extremely powerful, potent. They're all very positive and very forward-looking and very encouraging, and giving us a lot of like internal energy and self-confidence that we are the ones who are making it happen. So it's an underlying theme.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'm not going to give you the first part, which is all the questions that he poses, because it would take us just the whole time just to put the questions. But they're good questions, and it's important. Then we'll go in depth tomorrow. So I'm going to take it just straight to where he brings the instruction.
Okay.
And we'll do whatever we can do. There's the Torah portion of this week talks about Behaaloscha, to illuminate, to elevate. It says to light the candles. In the tabernacle, they had a menorah with 7 branches, and every day the Kohen, the high priest would go in or the priest would go in and light the candles. And the Rebbe says we can learn from this because this is an expression. Why did they light these candles every day in the Holy Temple? It's not just, something interesting they did. It's an instruction, and it emphasizes and it expresses, the Rebbe says, it expresses the general service that each person needs to do, each Jew needs to do to serve his Creator. What is this service of lighting up the candles? We know it says there's the candle of God is the soul of man. So there's a lighting of candles, which means lighting of our soul. And we have to light souls with the light, and he brings another quote, the candle, which is a mitzvah, a good deed, and the Torah, which is light. So we illuminate our souls with mitzvahs, good deeds, commandments, and Torah, and the light of Torah. So that's how we can illuminate our soul. And through this illumination, we can light up our whole existence, our bodies, okay, through illuminating our soul with Torah and mitzvahs, it illuminates our entire existence, our bodies, and affecting our portion in the world. Why? Because when we're dealing with the world, we have this consciousness that everything we're dealing with in the world is in order to serve God, really. Like even the mundane things, even the business deals, even the going on vacation, or whatever it is, we're really doing it to take care of being able to serve God. So knowing God in all our ways is something that Rebbe very, very often quotes, and he quotes this again here, is that really we affect the world when we're dealing with the world. And we're dealing with the world not just necessarily at the moment that we're doing a mitzvah, but when we're dealing with the world, we're having in mind that this is dealing with the world is in order to serve God properly, then we're affecting the world also. And we can affect people around us until we can shine and illuminate the entire world. And then we're illuminating the world with the light of this candle of the mitzvah and the light of the Torah in a way that we're connecting ourselves and the world to God. Because what is a mitzvah? Mitzvah means to connect. Mitzvah means tzavta, which means connection. So when we do a mitzvah, we're connecting to God, and we're connecting the physical world with God, with godliness, until the world becomes a dwelling place for God in this world. And we become an illuminating candle, like candelabra, and we're illuminating godly light into the world. So how do we do this? Okay, so something maybe we've heard before, right? We want to be shining lights, we want to be illuminators. How do we do this? Eva says like this. First of all, we can learn from what was the Rashi explains on this verse in the Chumash when it says we should light the candles in the tabernacle. Rashi says that he's supposed to light it to a point where the actual wick and flame is burning on its own. So why is he talking about burning on its own? Okay, so the point is that also there's a lesson here that we need to be illuminators that can illuminate on our own without help from the outside, without help from the Kohen already. The Kohen can light the candle and leave, right? So too that's by us, the Rebbe says. Even though God is the one who's giving us, right, the Jewish person, everything that he has. If God wasn't helping us, we wouldn't be able to do anything. God is giving us the candle of the mitzvah, and he's giving us the light of the Torah, and he's shining up our soul, and he's giving us these great abilities to connect with mitzvahs and Torah, right? And also, a Jew gets powers not just from God, he gets it from the Kohen, Aaron the Kohen, who's like the shepherd, or whoever is the leader of the generation, the tzaddik, the righteous people of the generation are illuminating us. And we also get powers from our teachers, from our educators, and from people around us, friends, right? People encourage us and give us support, and people give us all this, attention that enables us and gives us the absolute abilities to be also shining illuminators. Welcome. I didn't say hello. Somebody joined. Okay, I don't know who iPhone is. Welcome. So here we are talking about how we have the illuminators, or people who are around us illuminating us, giving us, helping us, supporting us. But the goal is not to just need the support or need the help even from God, but to be able to be illuminate, stay lit on our own. And Rebbe is going to talk to us about how to do that. So first of all, the Rebbe says there's three words in this wording of Rashi about it should be a flame, not just a candle. It says it should be a flame that's ascending on its own. So each of the three words take into account. Flame, he says, is not just a teeny little candle. We can be tremendous, brilliant, forceful lights, shining flames. Ascending has another also look into the world, word ascending, that it should be in a way of going more and more and more and more, constant, continuous. It's not like it says angels can't move upward or ascend. They're always on the same level. They don't have free choice to choose, and they don't have the choice between, you know, good and evil. So they're basically in the same place all the time. But we have the ability to spread out and go higher, to move. Okay, so that's ascending, a flame that's ascending. And then Merleh from its own, also to make it like our nature that we're illuminating. So how can this be that we can have our candles illuminating? How does a candle itself illuminate and be able to continue shining on its own? When it has a wick and it has oil, and it's able to receive the light. Okay, so too the Rebbe says in our service of Hashem, we have to look from this, you know, this example of the candle and the wick and the oil, that if we have this bittul, we have this nullification, we're a vessel, we're accepting and open to receive and to contain the light of the mitzvah and the light of Torah, the candle of the mitzvah, light of Torah, until we can become illuminators, meaning that we're, you know, willing to, you know, burn in a way of constant growth. We're open to that. Then we can become constant. We could become constant illuminators. And the Rebbe is going to continue more on how. Okay, so first he gave the definition, and now he's going to go into more about how to do it. Okay, and preceding that, he says it's not just for us that we want to become illuminators. We want to become these fiery illuminations also for others. So he says like this. First, when a person first starts learning Torah, okay, at the beginning, he has a teacher, he has a Rebbe, he has his parents, or maybe he has other people. He has to work hard to learn it, to understand it, to comprehend it, to take it to heart. And he has to remember it also, engrave it in his mind, and make Torah part of his brain power, right? Till it becomes one with him. You need your teacher, you need other people to feed you and explain to you. And then though, after that, the Rebbe says, you can become on your own a teacher. You can become one who's making insights of your own, and you can become a flame that's burning on its own. Okay, so the Torah was given to us. Welcome. Let me just see who joined. Not in a way that if we constantly need to be fed by the teacher or even by Hashem to illuminate ourselves. Hashem is giving us this power that we can illuminate within ourselves on our own. And also, Torah was given. This is something very phenomenal that Rebbe brings out. Torah was given in a way that it's not supposed to stay up in the heavenly realms of spiritual heights. Torah was given to us down here below in a physical world, to a point where it says Torah is not in the heavens. Torah is not supposed to remain like this esoteric concepts, ideas that have nothing to do with us down here below, really. It's just, maybe it will sometimes inspire us and motivate us and give us a good information, but it's not really part of us as we are here physical human beings in a physical world. It doesn't necessarily apply too much to our or connect. That's exactly what the Rebbe says. That's an incorrect way of looking at it. What Torah was actually given over to us as we are here below, humans in physical body, in a way that we rabbis here can determine Torah law as it applies to us here, humans in physical body. So if we're like a woman who's having a hard time with something, and she goes to her rabbi and she says, you know, Rabbi, I need you to help me on this, guide me. How do I keep this mitzvah in my situation? How do I help this person do another mitzvah that I see they're lacking with? And the rabbi and her, let's say, come up with an idea of what could be done to create more awareness, to create more enthusiasm, to get people on board, to get, more of an energy flow and a consciousness that people can relate to. And the rabbi gives her these tools that, Torah law says this, and Torah law applies over here this way, and you can take this idea and apply it this way. And she takes all these wonderful information and she applies it, and then she passes it on to other people in a way that they can feel and understand and connect to God in their reality of their life, which is an amazing thing. And that's exactly what God wanted, that Torah should be brought from heaven, from this esoteric concept or ideas of godliness, into the godliness that we have in our own physical reality here, and connect and make the two real for us here. And that's the goal. So let's see inside more about how to do that. So first of all, we know the rabbis do have the power to paskin, to make it, to determine Torah law, a ruling. Till Hashem says, there's a thing that says that God sits and listens to the Beis Din down below, how they're determining Torah law. And it says, God says sometimes, he says, God smiled and said, Nitzchuni b'nai nitzchuni, my sons, my kids, my children, you have won me. Meaning that they took the Torah and applied it in such a way that God gets satisfaction, that they applied it in a way that humans can make it into something that's a reality in this physical world, that God, so to speak, needed us to bring it into that awareness and consciousness. God created us so that we'd feel separate, be in a separate entity, that we feel separate entity. We're all part of godliness, but we feel our bodies and we feel our own opinions. But God created that we should have that our own opinions and bring Torah law into this reality of this physical human brain in a human world. So this is a theme that was also brought in the Shavuos talk of the Rebbe about how Torah law over the years changes and adapts. Right, the rabbis, we're not saying the Rebbe is very careful how he explains what does it mean it changes. Torah law is brought into different Beis Dins throughout the generations, and the rabbis sit and determine Torah law depending to how they understand it in their time based on what they see. And that power is given to the rabbis to determine and adapt it based on the 13 principles of how Torah is adapted to the times or to the circumstances that they see before them. But Torah, the rulings change. And there in that talks about it in times of Mashiach, things will change. We talked about this last Sunday. So if anybody wants it, I think I posted it on YouTube. If I didn't, hopefully I will if it came out. So in anyway, based on YouTube. But the point is here is that this power to do this is God's will. God wants us to take Torah law, Torah understandings, Torah insights, and apply it in a way that God needs us to be the ones to make it fitting to our circumstances of a human brain and a human world. Okay, so which is a very phenomenal, amazing concept to think about. He brings another, he brings this later, but I have to bring it here too, because it's so, and we'll probably re-explain this again. With mitzvahs, God gave us mitzvahs also, that he said, we can create, which is a phenomenal concept, we can make something holy, okay? So a person can, for instance, do a bris, a circumcision, make a body part holy. That's a very, very potent example. Then you could take a mezuzah. You could take a piece of parchment and ink. The Sofer writes it according to the laws of Torah. He creates a holy article, a holy item, to a point that this holy item has its own abilities to affect the person who wrote it. So the item becomes an entity that has on its own holiness that can affect the person when he puts it on his doorpost and affect the person who wrote it. So you see what I'm saying? Like, we have this ability to create something holy in this physical world that gets its own status of holiness, to a point, you're not allowed to just throw out a mezuzah, not even regular shemas. I just learned this. You can't even put it with other books. It has God's name written on it. It has a holiness. It's a higher level of holiness that you have. If it becomes unkosher, it has to have a certain burial of a higher level of holiness than just anything else. So, but when they're kosher, they also have a higher level of potency, of effect on us, on our spiritual state, on our physical state, on our being, that got put into it by us. We created that mezuzah or that tefillin or that sefer Torah, and then it has an effect on us. So it has an effect on the world. It has an effect on other people. So that's just an example of the power and potency that we have within us to bring holiness into the physical world, and that is a much more tangible, stronger effect that wasn't there before without us. Okay, let's look inside. Okay, there is, in the Talmud it says that in the learning itself, there's also, you could be learning and learning and learning. You could be reviewing until it becomes engraved in your memory, until you don't have to learn again, okay? You did the work, you learned something, and it becomes like part of you, part of your entity, part of your being, right? It's so part of you, you already know it. You don't even need to review it, learn it again, okay? If you review it again, it's because you want it's a nice mitzvah to do, but to learn Torah, but you don't really need it. It becomes part of your even nature to keep that, to understand that, to have that consciousness. It becomes part of you. So too with keeping mitzvahs. The Rebbe says a person can train their body to keep mitzvahs until you don't need to consciously remind yourself. Let's say now I have to bow down, like right when you're praying in Shemona Esrei, in the there's times where you have to bow down. You don't have to consciously say, oh, I better remember to bow down over here. At a certain point, it becomes so part of your nature. As soon as you say that word in that part of the davening and prayers, you automatically bow down. So that's another example of how we train either our mind to remember things that we don't forget because it's part of us, or we train our behavior that it also becomes part of us. We don't have to think twice about it. So aside from this, that in our service of Torah mitzvahs, it becomes part of us. There's another aspect to Torah mitzvahs in our service. The Rebbe says we can become even more than that. We can become illuminators, and like it's like an internal fire that's burning on its own. Now, this can also be in mundane matters, even not just Torah mitzvahs. Of being conscious of God at all times, even says that everything we're doing has this attitude of we're here to serve God in everything we do. That can also become, the Rebbe says, part of our training, that we just become accustomed to, being conscious of God, godly aware all the time, okay? So too, he says, when we influence others, the Rebbe says, because right, the Rebbe keeps repeating these three or four aspects. Our own Torah mitzvahs for ourselves, Torah mitzvahs for others, our effect on others, and the third level is affecting the world. And that's a common theme that the Rebbe brings throughout this sikha, this talk, and other talks as well. Affecting ourselves, affecting the people around us, and affecting the entire world, the physicality in the world and the world itself. So how do we see this when we're talking about affecting other people in the world?
No, I know.
He says we can become very effective in the world when we become this, what we call shalhevet olam ela, when we have this internal flame burning, so to speak, within us, where we have this illumination, where it's kind of already become part of us, where we're already generating this light. Then we can have an effect wherever we go, whatever we're doing, it's having a potent effect. So let's see it inside more, how we get to it. He says it can be in two ways, first of all. One way could be that our physical body is trained. Okay, so we train ourselves, we train our body to serve God, and it becomes our second nature. But this is really one level where it's like our services of God is kind of like an extra thing that we added to ourselves, and we trained ourselves so well that we're already behaving in a way that we're trained. Then there's a second level that the Rebbe says that we can train ourselves, or we can accustom ourselves, that our physical body is so in touch with God. Okay, so this is the awareness. It's not just about behavior, it's about our being. If we train ourselves to constantly focus on the fact that we're being with God right now, we're one with God right now, We take these ideas of Chassidus to heart more and generate this sense of God is with me right now. I'm within God. We take these ideas of being within God, then our body, the Rebbe says, becomes automatically more in tune with God, godliness. Because our body is really a creation of God and connected to God. And our body on its own will be more of like, will be reminding us, you better get up. Our body will train us. This is not, it will give us that intuitive feeling. Stay away from this. This is not what God wants. Be here. This person needs you. That will be our internal body giving us messages to what we need to be doing to be being with God at that moment. So that's something the Rebbe says is in our times, if we train ourselves to think about how God is with us at this moment, and it's really all godliness and we're all one with God, that will be a training for our whole existence to have this sensitivity and this awareness and this consciousness that we're one with God, and that it will give us the messages. The messages will come from within us, from our body, from our gut, okay, from our heart, from our being. So here's where the Rebbe brings the example of having an effect on the world. So before we said effect on ourselves, effect on others, because when we're an illuminator, then people sense that energy that we have within us, and that has an influence on other people around us. And then the third example is how we affect the world, is when we use the world for Torah and mitzvahs. We use the world, we create the holiness in the world, and that was the example of that I brought you of the mezuzah, the tefillin, and sefer Torah. When we make something a holy article, a holy object, then it has its own potent energy on its own, and that also affects people around. It's very interesting. I posted a video a few weeks ago of my husband writing a sefer Torah, and it went a little viral. It had 6,000 views on Instagram, which I never get, and it was mostly non-Jews. They were fascinated to see how a sofer writes a sefer Torah. So that was very encouraging. So we do something of holiness, we can affect the whole world around us. Okay. So this what's going on is we take a physical object, we incorporate into it holiness in this physical thing, and to the point where even after we're not using it, or we're not necessarily, the sofer is not writing it at that moment, on its own, it has that holiness in it. It remains there. So it's similar to this idea of like we're supposed to be a burning flame from within that's constant, that doesn't need the input. So we can create holy articles in this world, doesn't need our input. On their own, they become holy, and they're still holy forever. And more, he says like this more. We could take this, he brings an example that you can even swear by some holy articles. So meaning it can help us when we need to swear. In certain instances, a person needs to swear to be, let's say, believed, and you take an article of holiness and you swear by it. It's in the Beis Din that I guess used to be a practice. So meaning it helps a person in exonerate himself or help themselves or help others with this article of holiness that had its own separate holiness that can help and affect him in other ways. So. Right, so it's on its own. On its own, it has that holiness. So he brings that also on the example of when we brought sacrifices. Also, the sacrifice was brought by the human, but it had the power and the potency to bring kapara, to bring atonement for the person. So it had its own power, even though the person had to bring the sacrifice itself had a power, a spiritual effect on the person who brought it, that they had atonement from it. These are concepts it's worth thinking about more and more. Like, I'm not going to elaborate. I'm throwing a bunch of little nuggets to process over this week. Okay. So what he's saying also here in this case of the physical objects, initially we need the power of God to help us, to give us the energy to make this physical item into a holy item. But then once we imbue it with that holiness, okay, then we don't need God's energy, and the object doesn't even need our energy. On its own, it remains holy. So this is the concept of being a holy illuminator in physical items and in ourselves. We become already a holy entity that has its own internal flame of holiness that doesn't need the constant input in order to be holy. It's an amazing, mind-blowing idea. Okay. So too, that it brings it to everything that we do in our world, in the world, right? We said there was this another fourth level. It's ourselves. We're affecting the people around us. We're affecting the physical objects in the world around us, and we're affecting even very mundane things that we just use them to serve God with in the world, which on their own don't seem to be holy. So even those things, though, are also becoming vehicles of carriers of our light that help us, that support us, or support godliness being brought into the world, because we've used them to serve God. Let me see inside. Okay. Right. We make things that become also support to us. They support us. And the Rebbe brings an example. So, for instance, he says, you put in a child's room, a little boy's room or a little girl's room, you put in the room a chumash, a Torah, 5 books of Moses, a siddur, a prayer book, you put a tzedakah box, etc., things like this, holy articles. We put them in a place that after you put it there, you put on a wall where you could see it, you put it on a dresser where it's right there in front of you, you put it, right, the tzedakah box there said to put on the wall, you put it in such a place that the item itself reminds the child to open up the prayer book, to open up the chumash and learn, the Torah, to put the money in the pushka, to kiss the mezuzah. So it's put in such a way that when you walk into the room, you see it, and that it on its own, it arouses the child to look at it and to learn from it or use it. Yeah. So the Rebbe says you put in a place that the item itself, the pushka, the tzedakah box, the charity box, reminds the child that it's time to put a coin in this pushka. So same thing the Rebbe says, anything that we educate the children, we know that things like this and things that are permissible for adults also, any of our mitzvahs that we keep, it needs to be done in a way that the object itself that you're doing, that with it you're doing the mitzvah, it on its own is also becomes like a flame that generates its own energy, that it reminds the Jew what your avodah, what your service needs to be. So then, okay, I still have some time. There's an interesting thing. The Rebbe is always bringing good things about Jews to illustrate how we're all wonderful and good, okay? So in this week's coming Parsha, Torah Parsha, it talks about how the Jews complained. And there it talks about it. Why does the Torah even bring it? And why does the Torah say bad things about, so to speak, about Jewish people? And the Rebbe points out, it says that they were complaining. But the Rebbe says it didn't say they were complaining, it says they were like complainers. So the Rebbe lessens the blow. Okay? Like complainers. Kemit onanim is the word. Let me see. Okay. And why? But why does the Torah bring it, that they were like complainers? Because the Rebbe says anything that we do that's not so good, it actually really was only put into place that we would stumble with this, or let's say become complainers, or like complainers, or stumble only so that we could do tshuva. It's very good. I'm very glad I'm learning Lucy today because I was complaining today. So I was complaining about something good, that needs to be fixed in holiness, that I want to see a change in the city. So I was complaining to some rabbis, this needs to be fixed, okay? Okay, so I was like a complainer, okay, not a complainer, like a complainer. And the point is so that we could do tshuva, so we can come, the whole point that we have this need to be like complainers is so that we can come to a higher level of connection to God because when we have a descent, it's only, the Rebbe says, is only to bring us to tshuva, to come closer to God. Because through the darkness, through that experience of that thing that's bothering us, that we're complaining about, that we're nervous or worried about or upset about, that is only there so that we can do tshuva and come to a deeper level of connection to God through transforming the darkness into light. So that's, the Rebbe reminds us always, anything negative is only there in order to spur and bring something even more positive, a greater light through us dealing with that negativity or that complaint or that problem in order to bring us to a higher connection of tshuva and connection to God. And it says that the service of people who are Baal Tshuvas, who return to God, who connect to God from a place of, fixing the darkness within them, they come to a much higher level than the regular service of always straight on the straight and narrow path, because the potency of the connection to God and the power of transforming negativity into positivity is so strong that that's what God wants from us. That's why he put us in the dark world. That's why he gave us issues to deal with. Now, times of Mashiach, that's going to be done. Will be complete. We won't have that anymore. But right now, the whole point there says to remember, it's not there for us just to be a difficulty or be something that we need. The whole reason we put into a situation where we can be like complainers is only in order for us to come closer to God through it. Okay, so I think I'm going to open up for questions if anybody wants to ask a question or discuss something here. Because it's already almost 1:45. And if you don't have questions, I will sign off. There's more beautiful stuff. So again, I'm going to say for whoever wasn't here at the beginning, I'm going to be teaching this more in depth tomorrow. And if you want, contact me and I will give you the link for the Zoom class every day this week, God willing, if I wake up on time. Yes. Good to see
Toda
you.
Rabah.
I hope this helped.
Baruch Hashem. Thank you.
Thank you for
Of
joining.
course. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Be well.
Be well.